During the pandemic, anti trafficking organizations witnessed a significant increase in sex trafficking cases, specifically of its subset crime, cyber sex trafficking, which can be defined as the exploitation of a person through the internet via webcam, photos, videos, or other sorts of digital media. Consequently, the incident rates of sex trafficking cases proliferated by 40% on a global scale during the pandemic, by which 80% of prosecutions involved that of cyber sex trafficking. During these times of crises, victims and survivors became highly reliant on anti trafficking organizations for their assistance. However, due to government imposed measures, there was diminishing support and a lack of resources on the front line to accommodate these victims. The predicament unearthed a systematic problem behind the organization, as they were enticed to adapt to the fast evolving environment to meet the needs of their communities. The paper thus seeks to investigate how have anti-trafficking organization websites responded to the growing demand for assistance for cyber sex trafficking victims during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic. In order to answer the inquiry, the website's history of the anti-trafficking organization Cyber Civil Rights Initiative will be analyzed. The organization was deemed as a fitting case study, as since its establishment in 2011 as a grassroots organization, it has developed into a leading international organization that serves thousands of sex trafficking victims per year. Specifically, they specialize in combating online cyber abuse through technological, social, and legal innovation. Their modernized model presents them as a leading anti trafficking organization that is able to swiftly adapt to the advancing typology of the sex trafficking industry, rendering it as fruitful for the analysis within the premises of this project. Furthermore, it is important to note that in crises, victims often rely on the websites of organizations for critical assistance. Therefore, by conducting a historical review, a narrative can be inferred on how the changes of the websites over the year reflect the preventive responsive measurements taken by organizations in order to accommodate the growing demand of victim support during the domination of the COVID-19 period. The history of the website can be segmented into three different periods for analysis. They are as follows. First, the pre COVID 19 era, which constitutes the yearly screenshots from 2013 until 2019. Secondly, the domination of the COVID 19 pandemic, which constitutes as the monthly interval screenshots from 2020 until 2021. And thirdly, but not last, the post COVID 19 era, which constitutes as the yearly screenshots from 2022 until the present, 2023. It is important to note that not all elements will be touched upon, only the key objects that are deemed pivotal in mediating victim assistance will be analyzed in further detail. For the pre COVID 19 era, one can initially look at the first recorded archival screenshot of the homepage. Most observable is its lack of format and structure. There is text, however, it is limited. From the get go, it can be interpreted that the focal point lies mainly in the mediation of information about the organization, its goals, and its project developments. This is emphasized through the header and the categories that are present, such as events and blogs, press releases, and about us. The latter idea is one that persists throughout the pre COVID 19 era. Although the visual layout may change, the underlying text, context, and information proposes the website's establishment more as an autobiographical like site. However, minor changes can be observed that reflect the organization's slowly appeal to a victim friendly site. Firstly, is the addition of the category and revenge porn. Their transparency of this campaign can be interpreted as the organization's attempt to call for attention on cybersex victims specifically. Additionally, towards the end of the era in 2018 and 2019, there is an emergence of another category, which is dubbed as for victims. Although semantically ambiguous in its description, the latter offers a drop down list of limited but still useful resources, such as the CCSI Crisis Hotline helpline. However, when observing its relational position amongst other semiotic systems, it lies in between other categories, such as what we do and for legislators. Together, they share the same homogeneous font size and color, which mediates the notion that victims' resources are perceived to be equally as equivalent as the site's About Us page, and therefore not prioritizing and foregrounding the victim and the services. During the earlier periods of the domination of the COVID-19 pandemic era, there was a lack of changes, if not none at all. This can be hypothesized as a result of the staff shortages and lack of funding that the NGOs faced during the pandemic. However, towards the end of this era, in December 2022, there was a sudden radical change of the website's homepage. Most notably, four visible design elements can be highlighted as emerging emancipatory objects that begin to foreground the needs of sex trafficking victims. These are the 24-hour CCRI abuse helpline, which is located at the top of the header of the website, the quickly exit site button, which is boldly visualized on the right side, the Get Help Now text and button, which lies in the center of the website, and lastly, the CCRI Safety Center page, which includes all relevant documents for the victims together in one place. These include documents that are specialized on cyber sex crime and include examples of useful definitions related to virtual sex trafficking, digestible information on state laws of specific related cyber sex crimes such as sextortion, deepfake, and non consensual pornography, as well as a step to step guide on how to document digital evidence for the prosecution of their offenders, as well as a roster of accessible alternatives to contact. Unlike in the pre COVID era, all of these four emancipatory objects have their own spatial space, which is clearly demarcated through boxes or colors, therefore emerging as independent from other irrelevant objects and text. Lastly, the organization and structure of the homepage remained homogeneous until the end of the post COVID 19 era, with no significant observable changes besides the removal of the tagline, "We protect victims of online abuse," to CCRI Safety Center. Based on the narrated history of the website, we can see that CCRI attempted to reestablish its online presence beyond an autobiographical like homepage to a more victim friendly site. This is achieved through their implementation of emancipatory objects, or better redefined as in crises objects. The latter term, alluding to the concept elucidated by Miriam Binman et al., in which their paper delineates the key website design features in which the needs of the in crises victims are centered on the foreground and prioritized. This includes only crucial information presented on the homepage and a lack of visual clutter. Specifically, crucial information compromises as hotline contact number, law enforcement contact number, information on internet safety or an online chat location, and a brief overview of helpful resources such as for shelter or legal advocacy. Furthermore, all irrelevant information must be pushed down to below the fold. These factors are all materialized now on the CCRI website and therefore can be seen as the organization's attempt to respond to the growing influx of cybersex victims during the height of the COVID 19 pandemic by essentially offering services that were once deemed only available on the front line and in physical states can now be accessed online.